Welcome, everybody, back to Paranormal, the New Normal, the show where I, your host, Jeremy, as always, try to make the world seem a little more normal. Do we really ever achieve this goal? And we all know it's just a pipe dream at this point, but we try, and we try. And today, maybe, we'll see. But as always, I bring an amazing guest to help me on this grand adventure. And my guest today, I am very proud to have Diego Sanmiquel, Doctor of Medical. I'm going to screw this up, but Qigong. Did I get that right?
Qigong.
Yeah, that was close.
Yeah,
Okay,
close.
I'll take it. How you doing tonight, Diego?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I haven't got to do an interview on the show in a while, so happy to finally be back in the swing of things here. So glad, and what a guest to have on. A topic I actually have never touched on in this show, and I love that. I love first timers in this show. So glad to have you on. And I'm gonna start off with the question I ask everybody on this show. What got you into the spiritual world? What made you want to take this long, hard path that a lot of people fear?
Um, I don't. To be fair, it was random things, random coincidences. They all happen to be. Um, every time that I tried to deviate from the spiritual path, something happened to throw me back in. We most sometimes gratefully, sometimes not as much. But they all I think it started when I was very young, and I have uh, understanding of the world that we live in is not the same the everything else. Yeah, so I had a my great grandma. It was 103, and when I was a kid, I was like 4 or 5 years old. She used to tell me, "Say you need to learn how to live in two worlds." I didn't know what she meant until many years later, uh, but that's how eventually I tried to go through the mm, corporate world and ended up back into spiritual side. So um, that's how I found my path. Just I guess being in service.
Which is not an uncommon way to get into this path, honestly. I've had a lot of people tell me the same. To have your grandmother tell you that, your great grandmother tell you that at a young age that's a little different. But I mean, she was wise apparently, and she was telling you the truth. We all need to learn how to live in two worlds on this planet because the one world most of us live in is not doing that great. So we need to learn to live in two worlds to help bring balance. And I am completely down for that. But
Yeah.
you say it's random, which I mean,
No,
and
no, I
I
said
believe.
random with like big quotes. Yeah, so that I don't believe in randomness.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say I'm quite a big believer myself in like destiny and fate and that type of thing. So
yeah. I mean,
we're
you can bend whatever you try to bend, but then eventually you, you can muscle through it, and but eventually you ended up where you're supposed to be always.
yeah. I mean, it's nothing that no path we take in this world is just gonna happen. It's already been predetermined that we're gonna be down that path eventually. The exact point in time of our timeline that might happen might alter based on circumstances. I think a little bit, but I mean, things can happen. As they say, shit happens. But eventually, we're all going to find the right path that we need to be on in order to survive in this world and be our best selves. And it looks like you found it. So, more power to you there. And I just want to say hello to Harley. Thank you for watching. Good to have you on as always. And so, how old were you when you started actually walking the spiritual path?
Um, Officially about 28, unofficially about 9 years old.
All right. So you were looking for the answers at a young age. Just it's something hard for kids to find. It's something.
Well, I accelerate at a young age with spiritual and energetic practices. Yeah. So if you think about this, I have the bless that my parents were raised Catholic and they were trying to find their way. So they got fed up with the church. At the time, Argentina was a communist, like military run country. So structure and all those things, a lot of people rebel into it. And then one of the easiest one is like religion. Yeah. So go to try Buddhism and there's Daoism and Hare Krishna, whatever the other religions, they were Abrahamic and nature, they try. And because I was down for the ride and very young, I tried a lot of these teachings and training, and I got really into stuff, and I was able to get the manifestations on some of the meditations super quick. And that um it's not a normal thing to do for many kids. So, and I wasn't a support system back there to continue those paths. So by the time I was in my early 20s, I have trained many traditions. So but never find anything that I can call home and to like find Taoism. Yeah.
Which I didn't do my research before this, or like not research, but my re-education before this on that because kids. But Taoism, I've been trying to think what it is all day, and I'm drawing a blank. I know I learned about it in my Eastern religion class in college, but it's been a long time since I talked about it. So I don't want to sound like a fool. So why don't you tell us in your words what Taoism is?
So as a quick version, this is like summarizing, like
Yeah, of course.
5,000 years of training, but it's like imagine this as a Confucianism and the teachings of the Buddha and the teachings of Lao, and they all mix together, and you ended up with Taoism. That's basically it. But it's like the whole. If you ask someone, and specifically you go to China and you ask someone you're a Taoist, they're gonna tell you no, I'm not, because that title is reserved for the priest, but basically is to live in harmony with the universe, with your
So
environment. Yeah, that's the goal.
now it's now it's starting to come back to me a little from college because if I'm not mistaken, the Taoists were the ones who they were the first ones to really believe that science and magic could kind of exist in the same plane. Like all the other religions would try to either put down magic or they would try to put down science completely. There was no in between. Taoists were like the first ones to really be like, all these things can exist in nature.
Yeah. So, and in most of the system, if you look at in history, yeah. But what the most people agree is like this Taoism starts someplace in Russia and trickle down into Mongolia and then trickle down into China and then it went down that path. So it becomes for what they used to call on the Wuyi, their version of the witch doctor. Yeah. And
Yep.
and then eventually it becomes a sect, and everybody find their flavor, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Typical.
everything else, it's like everything turns a spiritual practice, turns into religion, and turns into politics, and turns into warfare. So that's the path for every single tradition out there. So, but then the main thing is like, how can you live with harmony and the environment that you are, and live that way? That's like the Wu way. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've always been a firm. I mean, as a paranormal podcaster, I have to believe in science and I have to believe in things I can't explain, aka magic, because
Well,
there's,
magic is science that we cannot explain yet.
yeah, that's all magic is, just science that
Yeah.
cannot be explained. I mean,
Right.
that. I mean, it's the same as that's basically the definition of the paranormal too. It's just science that hasn't been explained yet. So
Yeah.
whether it's spirits or creatures such as cryptids such as Bigfoot or dragons, just things that science hasn't really been able to explain why these things are being seen, but they don't technically exist as far as we know. It's just, it's all this stuff that's just hard to prove, and a lot of the stuff only really true believers, such as myself, believe in. I mean, there's some
Well,
lesser known
so
things out there that are just, yeah.
So one interesting piece than Taoism, yeah. So Taoism make a science, creates a blueprint about the spirit world, and all the way from the divine all the way down into incense, yeah.
Yeah,
So you got insects, and then you have animals, and then we have humans, and then you have helpers, and then it's a whole hierarchy of the spirit world. So when people say, "Hey, I saw an angel," and I'm like, "Right, how do you know it was an angel?" And I'm like, "Well, I feel like an angel." So yeah, maybe, but it might be someone out of their body try to help you. Yeah, so we don't know until we do.
that's true. We really just don't know because, I mean, well, yeah, it's all everything that's unexplained. We don't know what it is till we can actually prove it. Till we can actually, and until we can prove it in the rest of the world's eyes. Because there's always going to be believers. There's always going to be people who are extreme unbelievers. There's always both sides of the spectrum. It's just you got to make people in the middle be able to see it and realize it's real. Then everybody else will slowly. I mean, people didn't know gorillas were a real thing until scientists went into the jungle to find one because the Africans just said there's this monster. There's this monster that lives in the woods and comes down and attacks us. It's humanoid, and I mean, basically something they say about Bigfoot. But then British explorers eventually found gorillas and captured one, and now it's something we see in any zoo we go to. So it's just the unknown always becomes known eventually. It just takes time.
Well, but that's the other place is like it doesn't mean it because you don't believe it. It doesn't mean it's not true.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that so much. I mean, trust me, Bigfoot believer here. Bigfoot believer. So, I mean, it's just because I haven't seen it. And thank you, Shannon, for watching as well. Glad to have you here. And as Shannon said, you can tell. I mean, she's seen her spirit guy as well before, so which I still gotta get you on a show, Shannon. I've been saying that for 2 years, and I really have to get you on, but work on that in the future. So let me ask you this question because I like to ask this question to everybody. Have you had any experiences that really kind of can't be explained, but they happen to you, so obviously they happened? Have you had, I mean, ghosts, spirits, creatures that we don't believe exist? I mean, extraterrestrials, any of that good stuff?
I, you name it, I probably met him. Uh, I work in a, I do. So I don't know if you mentioned this, but I work with a lot of when a paranormal case shows up. I'm sort of the guy who goes and investigate.
Oh,
So
you're a paranormal investigator then, basically.
d- I don't know if you will call it an investigator, but I'm the guy who where everybody fails to help, they come to me. Um, so I have here everything under the sun, and it's today nothing faced me. And also, it's like it doesn't matter what the people share with me or the information that I get. Many times it's like I don't have nothing to disprove what that person is saying to me, if that makes sense. So I I have work. Uh, I have something then in sometimes in Taoism, yeah. So something that is called yin eyes. So you can see the spirit world. So you can split the bell and see the spirit world. Yeah. So and that's part of our training to be able to see the spirit world
Of
and
course.
deal with it.
So, all right. Well, let's take this one thing at a time then, so that we're not. So I can I don't know keep it straight. What would you say is your most interesting experience with a spirit?
Um,
Always a tough question, I know, but
I don't know if he. I'm gonna something that this was very interesting always to me. Yeah, when I talk to people, is it's like my biggest thing with them is ghost cars.
Ooh.
Because I I you don't see they're coming fast, like, because it wasn't an accident, yeah, a lot of times. So you drive into a bridge or someplace like that, and they're coming at you fast. So sometimes you have these flashing lights coming at you, and it can be dangerous if you're on the road. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
those are, to me, is um is one of the ones, and the other one is like, I was in this is in 2013, 14. I was in Whole Foods, and I was in the area where self-serving, when you can self-serve stuff. And I have this lady screaming on top of her lungs, and I'm looking around and nobody's helping her, and I'm like, what's happening? So I go and I told him, say, ma'am, I don't work here, but if you give me 2 seconds, I will find someone that can help you. Yeah. So I turn around from her, and a whisper in my ear goes, I thank you for noticing. And I turn around and she was gone.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
those like, it was super vivid. Yeah. So it's like, usually um when you see a ghost, if you will, it's like, you can tell. This one, it was like pretty real. Yeah. So it was
yeah,
very
I'd
interesting.
imagine.
Yep. Very
I
interesting.
imagine it. I'd imagine it have to be like a full body apparition completely for you to think it's someone that actually is
I
still
don't
with us.
usually
Like,
miss in those things, so it was very interesting. And the other thing that always blow me away is when you drive with people, yeah, or you are with some friends or something, and they say, "Hey, is that a ghost?" And you go like, "Yeah, that's a ghost." And I say, "But I don't see those stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, what you want me to do with that?" It's like, great. So maybe it's not.
interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
and I love that you brought up ghost cars because I've heard a few stories of those over over the years, but they're not something that is very commonly talked about. It's not something that most people, even mediums and psychics, don't really experience that phenomenon to the a lot at
It's
least.
it's like if you drive Highway One, if you, I'm California, yeah, Highway One in California, from Carmel all the way past Big Sur, is a beautiful, famous bridge called Bixby Bridge or something like that. And you see it in every single picture that you look from Monterey or California coastline, is that bridge.
Okay.
A lot of people commit suicides in that. Yeah, so is a
Yeah.
lot of ghost cars in that bridge. Um, um, and yeah, so yeah, so depends. Usually, in my experience, is things in weird intersections. Yeah, that's what you see them.
Oh, actually, that makes sense. That makes sense. And well, you said that since you said that you basically have a little bit of experience with everything, I got to ask, have you ever come across the extraterrestrial in your travels? Because I know people who are more tuned to the spirit side sometimes have that connection with extraterrestrials as well because they're in tune with the spirit side.
I don't. I I see some weird things in the sky. Yeah, the
UFOs and whatnot.
I cannot tell if what they were, but they didn't behave like normal. Yeah. So um yeah, so I don't know if I can tell you for facts. I hear a lot of story. People come to me, and I'm being a doctor and all those things, and I'm like, great. What you want me to do with that information? But in terms, I spend nights outside, yeah, and this one, it was, so the TikTok that people talks about, yeah. So that happened in a beach close to San Diego, so that's what I'm at. So a lot of times at night, you go outside and you go and you sit on the ocean and like just relax in there, and you can see some things moving in the air. They are not just, they move like planes or birds or something. So I don't
Yeah,
know if it that.
they're unnatural. I mean, I
Yeah,
when I'm taking my when I'm taking my dogs out my backyard, I sometimes can see things too that just don't seem like they don't look like they're not stars because they're moving. They don't move like planes. They don't move like birds. Or I mean, it's nighttime, so there's not gonna be birds in the sky regardless. So, or, I mean, not around here at least. But so it's UFOs are definitely out there. What they are, who's driving them, if anybody, I don't know. That's the thing that kills us all, is that we don't know. But and oh, actually, well, Shannon first of all says that she never heard of ghost cars, which, well, now you have. You're welcome. And she also said that she feels strongly that you have been visited by aliens while you were asleep.
that's a huge possibility.
I mean, a lot of people have. I mean, there's tons of tales of people being visited by extraterrestrials while they're asleep. That's when they tend to like to come because they don't want us to freak out and start shooting at them, or just freak out in general. Because it's, I mean, we're humans. We're not the brightest species ever, and any aliens that come here are going to be more intelligent than us because they figured out how to travel through dimensions or through space, whichever way you have it, and they know a lot more than we do, so they know how we will react if they've seen I'm sure they've seen our movies, I'm sure they've seen all the media about them, and they realize how we think of them already. So they're not gonna just show up willy nilly in the daytime unless they're just being, unless they're just being foolish. Because it, I mean, what we think. But there also have been government things where extraterrestrials have been seen by government presidents and government leaders just in the daytime because they have deals with them, we believe, which I am a
That
full believer in that.
I I I cannot confirm or deny. But it's like is much more in there that we know, and definitely, um, it's a lot of strange things. The still people cannot explain, even though that now the government is a little bit more open and it's supposed to be a lot happening in 2027, where they're gonna release a lot of the stuff. But in the meantime, yeah, so we get with the information that we have in front of us.
See, you are not the first person on this show to drop that year, and I'm kind of curious, like where that information is coming from. That because like I've heard it from multiple
Oh,
people now that
it's
2027 is
a
going to
bill in
be.
Congress. It's a bill in Congress.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, this is
By
what I get for
20,
not watching the news.
by 2027, they're supposed to release, and if you look, the if you look a lot of the documents they released in the past, they've heavily redacted. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course. I mean, it's the government. They redact everything they can just because
yeah,
they want us to be as uninformed as possible. But well, we'll steer this in a different direction because I know you're more on the spiritual side of things than the space side of things. But what? Let me ask you this because this is always a fun question for people in your line of sight. I'll say, what do you think happens after death?
uh, do so, and I'm gonna answer in Taoism. Yeah, and
Ooh,
so it believes that you go to hell, but it's a refiner place. Yeah, so um they believe that you should go to a council and you meet with a council, and they they sort of like they play your life in front of your eyes, and they tell you, hey, you come here to this world to do these things and you haven't done it. So it's like some tally that you karma that you increase, and you have to burn it up later in the next life, and then you go through the refinement process, and then you wait till your soul to to come down. And this like this is a refinement place, and it's a silver bridge and it's a gold bridge. Yeah, that's sort of the idea. um I thought that that was all BS. Yeah, so it's like, okay, that's nice. um right before the pandemic, it was this lady um who met up with me. You remember I talk with a lot of, like, if you tell me, I can probably hear the stories about it. Yeah, because I'm the guy who specialize my clinic. I specialize in problems the doctors or Western medicine just decide that it's not help for those people. Yeah, that's when I show
Yeah.
up. So I have this lady, and I was talking to her, and she said, "I want to teach meditation." She's a doctor, an MD. Yeah, so I'm like, "Why you want to teach meditation?" It's like, Diego, I'm not gonna. Uh, I want to tell you something, but I don't want to think that I'm weird. And I already think that you're weird, so don't worry about it. Yeah. So if you come here to, if you wanna talk to me, it's like you are in the weird spectrum. Yeah. So we get. So she's like, I die, and I'm like, when? "Oh, last year." And I'm like, how you die? It's like, well, I had a terminal cancer, and I die, and then I wake up 24 hours later. Well, like in her mind, when in 24 hours the cancer went away. Yeah, she was. They given like a couple days to leave, and then she the story that I just tell you that's on the books, yeah, and the Daoist books is like exactly what she said. Also, she's like, I die, this has happened, and then I cross the bridge. And if you look in Abrahamic traditions, they have the cherubs outside of the doors of heaven, so there's always two guardians. And they told her that she wasn't ready to come, so she needs to go back, but she needs to be in service. So
Inter-
she went back, wake up 24 hours later, cancer went to remission. They don't know. Nobody's a miracle, yeah. And then it's like she's going to the old patterns, yeah. The patterns that put her in the hospital, and I'm like, look, you got a second chance in here, so you need to be in service. So how you gonna do that? Well, what is that you're gonna do? So now she teach meditation classes, and she teach online, and then when for be full MD working in the hospital to be like this sort of spiritual guru out of that experience. So it was like very interesting. So when you ask me, say, what happened when you die, I have to believe the um whatever the these groceries that we have, yeah, the meat suit just die, decompose, and our soul, it will be recycled somewhere, somehow.
well, Shannon said that she's also seen that same after death scenario. I believe Shannon's a medium and a psychic, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken that, Shannon, but I know you commented on my show before and have said it's just been a while. And she says that you have a choice to carnate, which I assume means reincarnate,
Okay.
uh, be a spirit guide or be an angel, which that's, I mean, that's, I, I feel like there's got to be a choice where you're not any of those and you're in some kind of glorious afterlife that we're all promised in every religion.
Well, to be no, so that I will be sort of disagreeing, sort of, unto a point with that, is because you don't get to do that unless you have burned enough for your karma. Yeah, so enough that you haven't done. So it's always to be in service, and this path, and this path or spirituality, if you will. Yeah, so you have people that are close to the lie. If you look at the ultimate lie, is the divine, and then people that are behind, on the dark side. Yeah, so it's like between here and there, you have people in front of you that you're gonna ask for help, and people behind you that you're gonna help, and then and the ones that actually go and becomes spirit helpers is the one that and like in the Tibetan tradition they call them that they got the rainbow body, so they burn all the karma. Yeah, so they burn all the karma, and now some things. So I asked a teacher once, and I'm like, hey, how do you know if someone burn all the karma? Is that they don't have shadows, because the light coming from inside of them doesn't allow them to have shadows. So that's how you know that someone have a right to that burn all the karma in their lives. And so what happened next? And then he goes like, well, you can be a spiritual helper or you can be an immortal. And that's how to spot them. They don't have shadows. So yeah, it's a possibility that you can become a helper or you can become and keep going in the ranks. Yeah. And that's the reason that I love Taoism, because everything is a rank. It goes all the way up into the divine, into angels who actually is the energy who support the constellations, and it goes down and down and down into the earth. So yeah, so it's a possibility, but the is that you have to burn all the karma that you have accumulated in your life.
Oh, I mean that actually lines up a lot with with what I kind of believe happens after that lines up a lot. I mean, in my beliefs, it's a little more extraterrestrial in nature. I believe we all are from, and I've also, this is based on a lot of different people tell me different things, and I kind of put together my own belief system because I'm an innovator. But I mean, I always believe that when we die, our soul leaves and goes to basically a DMV in the sky, and
Okay.
we're basically waiting there until we are either reincarnated because we didn't finish off what we had to do in this life, which is very similar to what you just said, or either that or there is another dimension. It could be another dimension, another plane. It's somewhere that is what most religions would call heaven. It's a place where you can go and your soul can finally live freely and your soul can finally just go where it wants to go rather than being
So,
forced to go reincarnate in another human body, another extraterrestrial body, or wherever you're supposed to reincarnate next.
so the amazing thing that you have in this realm, yeah, in this realm,
Yep.
is the ability that you can be sitting in the bus right next to a axe murderer and a saint. Yeah. So when you
Yeah.
die, depends on that light that you have accumulating, you only can be with that group of people. Yeah. Or with this group of people. But you can, the light won't allow them. The good thing that we have in this realm is the ability that we all can mingle together, and that's the whole thing about free will. Yeah, it's like it's never a bad choice, it's a new lesson. So it's a great book called The Journey of the Souls, that explains this very well, and is about soul clusters. So you are in this sort of the place that you mentioned is a dimension when you are with these people, there's just like you, and they love you and they support you, but because of that it's no friction, and when you don't have frictions you cannot outgrow your limitations. So you have to come in here into this realm to work some kinks so you can outgrow those limitations.
Makes yeah. I mean, that's basically what I meant when I said like you get if you haven't completed all your goals, because I mean we all
Yeah.
our souls are created with these goals that we have to create, that we have to accomplish. It could be in one life if you're really an overachiever and you somehow manage to get it right the first time. But I mean, for most of us, it's probably been 20, 30 lives. It's probably been 20, 30 lives at least. And we still haven't gotten it right because, once you're down here, it's like going to Sodom and Gomorrah, you're just going to go have fun. So,
Yep. And then that's the whole thing about free will.
exactly. I mean, free will is a double-edged sword. 100% it's a double-edged sword. But you got to love it. You got to love it.
Well, but
It's
you
nice.
you get to every time you get to do the right thing because it's right, and that will kill you. Yeah, it will kill your ego self.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it really does. So, just so we don't run out of time here to talk about these things, because you are a doctor and you're in a lot of different systems here that I've never heard of. So I'm kind of curious of. We'll start off with the one that I butchered in the beginning.
Okay,
What is medical Qigong?
medical
Hey, I think I got it
qigong.
right.
Medical qigong is basically the framework with Chinese medicine is built. So if you look at today's day, yeah, so medical qigong, the earliest books that we have, they're about 3 to 4,000 years old. Our system, yeah. So it has oversee the body and oversee the three bodies. So when you are working with someone and you have someone on the table and you have a patient, you just not look at the physical component, you look at the energetic component and the spiritual component of each body and how that is affecting the body and the illness. So if you think about traditional Chinese medicine, yeah, so acupuncture is also old, but traditional Chinese medicine, it was designed, the one that they teach in school today, it was designed in 1949, and it's actually Mao medicine because they want to compete with the West. So they have removed all the energetic and spiritual components of the medicine. Still works, it's amazing, but they have removed the spiritual and energetic components because a lot of times we find cases in which people is sick and they have all the manifestation of a Western diagnosis, but the test result shows the all negative. So it means the illness is trapped either in energetic or in the spirit body. So
Interesting.
that's where we come in. That's the reason we are the last resource. People come to us and say, "Hey, I went to every single doctor. They put every single needle on me. They have tested me and about everything, and they cannot find anything wrong with me." And a lot of those cases, it's like, yeah, the illness is trapped in the energy body or in the spirit body. Yeah, it's not trapped in your physical body, and then you work it, and then you help facilitate the alignment of those trees, and all of a sudden people get better. Yeah, so
Which
it's an ancient technique.
which it does sound familiar now you describe it. It does sound a little familiar to me. I would
Okay.
never have known it by the name, but it does sound like a familiar belief I've heard mentioned somewhere before, maybe a long time ago. And of course, for us Westerns, we think if we can't touch it, it's not real. So we're that's how we
Yeah,
are. But
that's true. Yeah, so but you also a lot of things what it happens they do this, and we see more and more they call something a syndrome, because when you
yep,
call something a syndrome, it's like basically it's on your mind, it's on your brain, and it's not real, but you have in the manifestation, but it's a syndrome. And when you do that, the insurance don't cover when it's a syndrome a lot of times. So what happened is like we specialize, and I wish, and this is my goal, yeah, to make this medicine to be more um recognized in ways, so we can help, because you have the best of both worlds in here. You have if you get into a car accident, don't come to see me. Go to the ER, they put you together, you know what I mean? But if you have
yep,
a chronic condition, it's like, yeah, that's where we excel.
yeah. Those that have whether it be autoimmune disorders or whether it be lifelong, or not lifelong, but terminal cancer that just modern sciences can't seem to conquer. I mean, I've heard of miraculous stories of healers with abilities such as yourself being able to cure cancer basically because it's not a cancer that was really affecting the body. So all the radiation wasn't doing anything to it.
Um, I so they have changed. So my degree was in oncology per se. All my training, and is different. But yeah, so a lot of times is the problem that you have in today's day is the medicine is no longer dictated by the doctors, it's
Mm-hmm.
dictated by lawyers. And when that happened, um it was a Tibetan doctor, I don't remember her name, but she wasn't visiting and she was doing the tours and doing talks, and it was the time when malpractice took effect back in the 80s. Yeah. um so the whole thing with that was that they say that the doctors have to do what the lawyers ask them to do. Yeah, so they cannot practice medicine, they have to practice sort of under a particular laws. and and I remember, um what she said was, it's like that's terrible because you remove the ability for the doctor to practice compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you remove the ability for a doctor to practice compassion, you will see a tremendous increase of autoimmune diseases. And
Yeah,
you look back and now she was 100% right.
which makes sense. I mean, because it's you can see it nowadays. I mean, compared to even when I was a kid in the '90s. I mean,
Yeah,
you go to the doctor nowadays. It's all basically down to a formula. It's no them asking. They don't even really ask anymore. Like, oh, what's bothering you? And if you say something, there's like, oh, well, here's a pill for that. Here's a cream for that. Like, it's not even like, well, it could be this, it could be that. It's like, nope, you're going to take this because that's what our lawyers tell us to do.
yeah.
And they don't say that, but we all know that
And
everything
that's
is
that's
dictated
the
by.
most important reason, ask questions, second opinions, all those things are great because it's like you never know. Yeah. uh is They're really good doctors, really good Western doctors, and then there are horrible ones, like in every area of even in our field. Yeah, it's like, hey, well, you practice spirituality and you meditate. Yeah, there are horrible people in our field as well.
Oh, every. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just the basis for every field in the world. I mean, every field in the world has the good and the bad. I mean, I've had a I've had Milby Courtlead on here. She's an author, and she literally wrote a book about called the Yellow Brick Road, a guide to psychics, because it tells the difference between good psychics and bad psychics and how you can tell the difference.
yeah.
And because no matter what profession you're in, there's always going to be those who want to take advantage of the weak-minded people, of the people they can coerce into doing things.
Is just follow the money.
But basically, I mean, the great example she gave me really is there was a it was a story about a girl who came crying to her at a convention of mediums and psychics because this one psychic told her to get rid of her problem, she had to go to this church. She had to go to this certain church, and she had to light so many candles, and it costs this much money per candle, and it ended up being like thousands of dollars. And like this woman's like, I don't have money like that, and the psychics that she ran into are like, you don't need to pay a dime. We can help you without you having to spend like a dime even. So it's just an example of people out there trying to grab money when they don't need to. It's horrible.
I think people need to do the due diligence, and the first thing that they need to stop doing is going to Google. Google
Yeah.
doctor is not great already.
No.
Yeah, yeah. It's like no.
I mean, WebMD is the worst thing a person can go on to try to figure out what's wrong with them because you're going to
I renamed that website to ihavecancer.com because
I
it doesn't matter
uh,
what you condition that you search for, and the last before the last is gonna say, "Oh, it might be cancer," and I'm like, "Great, what am I doing with that
yeah,
information?" Yeah,
exactly. I mean, WebMD has been horrible for years. I never trusted it because it's always, it could be, according to that, it could be 10 different things when it might not be any of those things in reality. It just might, those are just it's a freaking algorithm. That's all it is. People don't
yep,
understand that. It's just an algorithm of keywords that they search for when you put in what's wrong with you.
yep.
And
And
it's,
sometimes it's accurate, but it's like we don't have the necessary training to discern, because you have so much in there. Yeah. So which one is it? Well, it might be all of it. It might be nothing. It might be that you wake
um,
up and you just got a bad day.
I mean, they might be right sometimes, but
Yeah. No, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like
even a
we
blind man
don't.
gets a grab at ass once in a while. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's you get lucky once in a while, but it ain't gonna happen all the time. That's for damn sure. Well,
Well, if you go and check, hey, my hand each, and then they give you 15 different things, probably one of them is right. Yeah, I can be accurate that way as well.
I mean, yeah, if you circle all the answers in a multiple choice, you're gonna get one of them right.
Yep,
That's basically the best way to put it.
that's what
But
it is.
well, the other thing I was very curious about, because I definitely never heard of it, is the seven-stage Taji ruler system. I've never heard those words put together in my life, and I'm like,
It's
what
a
is this? It
it's
sounds interesting.
it's a training, yeah. So it's a training. The as a Tai Chi training is very interesting because most people disregard because the movements are very simple and very and ease, and then you can make it. And I have so we did a seminar a couple of weeks ago, and I have this lady show up, and she was working with a guy who had a stroke that he was not able to move. So I teach in the system some portions of it, and then she went and implemented. And within 3 days, that person was able to move their legs, like shake him. Yeah. So for not able to move any part of their body to shake him. But most people in spirituality, yeah. So what I have noticed, it doesn't matter the system that you go through. A lot of times, the first 2 to 3 years of your training, if you have a good teacher, the first 2 to 3 years of your training is foundations. Yeah. So it's essential for whatever is to come. And what happened, most people they associate that, especially here in the West, they associate that with beginners training. Well, that's beginner stuff. Give me the advanced stuff. But yeah, the beginner stuff, as you call it, is the cornerstone in which the edifice is going to be built. So that's the reason that a lot of times people they say, "Well, I tried this system, didn't work. I tried this system, didn't work. I tried this system, didn't work." And I'm like, "Yeah, the common denominator is you. You're the problem. It's not the system. Yeah, most of the systems are good." So the interesting part with the Tai Chi ruler, and I'm gonna be brutally honest, it was this American guy who grabbed it and started teaching it, and he made it up. Yeah, he just went and made it up and made videos back in the 80s and early 90s, and it was selling it. So saying that you do Tai Chi ruler is like, oh my God, you do that? And I'm like, this guy is dancing. Yeah, he just doesn't know what he's doing. But it's a methodical training to teach you energy body. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Demak. It's like
Sound.
it's the touch of death that they call in kung fu when someone can hit you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, like the old shoulder chop on Star Trek. Yeah.
Okay. Something like that. But imagine the beginning training of that is the Tai Chi ruler. So you can see,
Oh,
I love the is a Instagram account. I think it's Mac Dojo. Yeah. So this guy put all these fake dudes doing like fake martial arts, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Those are because they don't have the foundation training. They train they train the advanced stuff without training the low stuff or like the essential stuff because it's beginner in their mind. And when you ended up happen, you have a something you have a car that doesn't have a battery. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's not gonna start.
exactly.
So
It,
that's the interesting part with the Tai Chi rule. It's a beautiful system. It's a very gentle, and it gets the energy moving in the right direction.
co- oh, I mean, that's interesting. And I mean, of course, it's American guy in the 80s and 90s that had to make a lot of it up and make it. It's
So how do they used to call? They used to call in the back on the 70s and 80s the faster way for enlightenment. It was Pan Am Airline.
yes, I mean, it just amazes me because, of course, it's some wannabe Richard Simmons or wannabe.
Yep,
Uh,
it looks exactly like him.
probably does. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, if you that the image that you have in your head is like pretty accurate. I would say 80%.
That's funny. That's really funny. I love that. So, since we're getting close to the end here, I'm going to ask this. Well, I've got two questions left, basically. First one's going to be, what are you working on nowadays? What new things? Because you seem like you're always trying to learn something new. So what you working on nowadays?
I depends on the hat that I'm working on. I'm finishing now my some of my training in Tai Chi to be a Tai Chi teacher. But like
No,
I've been doing this for like 10. I'm like real system, yeah.
yeah,
So working on that, and always being a student. I think that's the way. This is a Japanese saying they call Shoshin. Uh, always beginner's mind. Yeah, it's always beginner's mind because I always tell my students, I say, hey, whatever I teach you today is true to me today, and a year from now might be completely different because the person that I am today, hopefully, I'm not gonna be here in a year. So I'm gonna die, and to my ego self is gonna die, and I'm gonna evolve and I grow, and my understanding of the information would be slightly different. So always changing, transforming, and growing. I think that's the key uh, for me and everything that I do.
well, right there. I mean, I like that. I mean, a a smart teacher never stops learning.
Yeah, the moment I, because in our tradition, it's like something that you call master or guru and stuff like that, and I'm like, why you don't call yourself that? Because if you're a master, it means if I master something, I have arrived. If I have arrived, it's no place for me to go. So because of that, I'm just gonna stagnate and be here. So mastery is practice the same exercise every day and find micro corrections between today's and yesterday. Because the mastery is not an attainable goal. It's something that's like a moving target. Yeah. So if you look at hits a sig- a missile, yeah, a hit seeking missile.
Yep,
If you look at it, it goes straight, but it's constantly doing corrections. Yeah. So that's for me, that's the key. It's like, look, you can pick up any practice, any meditations, anything that you have already and get enlightening. It's just, can you every day get it slightly better? And that's the goal.
exactly. I mean, you're nobody is ever really a master of anything. I mean, the best doctors in the world that have been doing their practice for 50, 60 years. I mean, they a lot of them are not good anymore because they stay stagnant and they go with things they learned 20 years ago that have changed, but they
Yeah,
won't accept the change. They won't accept the changes or try to learn the changes, so they're just going to stay stagnant. Eventually, they're going to have to retire because people are going, except for their older patients, no one's going to want to go to them
is that we
because
are. I I have seen the new generation come in as students. Yeah, the the scrolling, the never ending scrolling and things of that nature is challenging for them, but also the young generation. I don't know, it's alpha, whatever the name is coming up.
yeah, I always forget what it is. I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah, but
Generation Z. I think it's Generation. Actually, I think you're right. I think it's Generation Alpha.
I think I have seen glimpses of alpha that I'm looking forward to that generation. Yeah, because I have, every generation has the things, and uh, you know, I have seen tremendous potential in alpha generation. Yeah, the other ones are like too distracted, and part of our generation screw them up. Yeah, so I think it's like all these ancient practices, and they they used to be taught in monasteries, and they used to be taught in a particular way. They It's important now to having modify it for the new generations. Yeah,
Exactly. I mean,
it's a short practices, they get effective, and they get results right away, and then they have to come back for more, but you have to create that craving, because in the old school of teaching all the systems is like, they make you do the same thing for 30 years until the teacher decide that you're ready. Well, that doesn't work anymore, because you're competing with like 15-second scrolls. Yeah, every
exactly. I mean,
15 seconds is a new thing to be entertained in the dopamine. So it needs to shift to be able for the new generations to, there been some of these teachings that are like 5,000 years old. It's like, I don't think they're gonna go away. I think there needs to be a way to preserve it and change it for the new generation, and I think that is what my well, that's what I lose sleep most of the time. It's like, how can we grab this? Someone is not gonna train the way that I train. Someone is not gonna practice the way that I practice. How we can have these teachings in a way they are still relevant for today's world, and I think it's a
exactly. I
way.
mean, it would have to be. I mean, the only way I could think would actually work for the new generations is these lessons have to be compacted to short periods of time, and you're going to have to repeat the same information over and over again, but you're going to have to make it so that 10 minutes that they're learning is impactful enough that it sticks with them. And then maybe give them a little break and come back for another 10, like maybe like a 10-minute, 5-minute break, 10-minute, like that type of pattern. Like it's it's sad because my generation, well, I'm a millennial. I hate saying that. I am a millennial. I freaking hate saying that. I'm an elder millennial. I'll put it that way. I'm an elder millennial, but I was in the beginning of it. So the elder millennials, we were the last generation to really grow up with that. The best way I like to put it is the commercials on TV, because we learned patience. We learned you have to wait for something. There's no skip button. You have to wait for something. You can't just jump ahead to where you want to be. You have to wait for that what you want to come to come. So it's the patience thing. That's what it is. It's patience, and the newer generations don't have patience, and that's the problem with the world. That's one of the major problems with the world is the patience is gone. Someone's on your way in the street. Now it's just push them out of the way. And it's not give them a minute and see if they can figure out where they're going. It's just push them out of the way and keep going. Like it's horrible. It's horrible. There's no patience anymore. Like the amount of people I let pass me on the road that are kids, young kids, the amount of people, the young kids in the stores that are like flying through the freaking aisles, going back to the same aisles 5 times because they're not taking their time to look for what they want. They're just running through hoping they see it. It's just they're very impulse driven and very
Well,
weak
what I'm
minded.
hearing is like we have to work on our patience too.
Well, I mean, to some degree, but we also still have that patience instilled in us. So that's why I let people pass me. That's why I
Yeah.
let them go past me in the supermarket. Because just like, I'm not in a rush. You go ahead and do what you got to do. I'm not going to get upset with you because you're trying to hurry. I'm just going to let you go. And then that's it. It's not going to be a struggle in my mind that you're trying to hurry. Like, I'm not going to let myself get brought down by you, by your rushing and impatience. I can't. It will. If we all did that, then we'd be angry all the time, and that's not good for anybody. So, I mean, at least that's my view of it.
Yeah, it's like what the Buddha say is like you drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Exactly. Exactly. And Shannon, if you love these kids today and you think they're sweet, I want to meet those kids because I haven't seen that too much. I haven't seen that too much. I hate to say, but I just haven't. Yeah, there's going to be the good ones in every generation. That's just the way it is. But a lot, but they're raised right. That's the thing. They're raised right too. A lot of these kids are not raised right anymore because you got the younger millennials and the generation after starting to raise kids, and it's not pretty. It's not a pretty sight. I see it in my kids' schools every day, and it's not pretty. Like they're creating some monsters out there. I will say that. But
There's always hope.
oh, you have to have hope. Otherwise, what's the point? But I will let us end this on this one last thing, and that is, if you had one message to tell the world of how they should live, what do you think it would be?
Um, if you're gonna let anything for me, from me, is there's no necessary to react. That is the message.
I
Whatever is happening at any time, you can always take a second to breathe and 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 assess the situation and come out with a conscious choice. Because when we react, we come out for the unhealing woundings and we create more than a mess than before. So there's no necessary to react. And the
I
other
love
one, if
that.
you can throw a plus one in there, no is a full sentence.
Do or do not. There is no try. But
Yeah, no
yes,
is in the whole sentence.
but I'm not gonna lie. I love that message. I really do. And hopefully people take some. Hopefully some listeners actually hear that and they're like, you know what? He's right. And it actually changes the way they think. I can hope. I can hope.
I mean, is so the way that I explained that sentence the other day. Actually, I was teaching a class and I was explaining to the students. It's like the plane is going down. Yeah, so you're gonna die no matter what. You're in a plane. We lose both engines. The plane is going down. In 2 minutes, you're gonna hit the ground. Now, the end result won't change, but how you choose to live the last 2 minutes of your life will be tremendous amount of difference in your world. So you can be in panic and crying and complaining, or you can be happy and hug the person right next to you. That's the choice. Yeah. So we all going, and the only guarantee that we have, that most likely we're gonna die. So from here to that day, how you want to live the rest of your life?
Exactly. I mean, that's perfectly logical to me. I mean, that's perfectly logical, and that's the way everybody should think. I always people. Thank you, Shan. I love it. Shan says, "Thank you, guys. Both are brilliant and have great beards." I was gonna make a comment about the beards. I was going to
Thank
actually,
you.
so I love it. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Diego. This has been an enlightening hour. I know my listeners are going to get a lot out of this, and I hope all the people that watch this in replay really got a lot of it. Got a lot out of it too. Too many O's in there. But where can they find you if they want to learn more? Where can they find what you offer? Just promote yourself to the fullest, my friend.
So I'm very active in Instagram. So if you can find me, is Daoist with the D. Yeah, Daoist underscore MBA. And my website, I will say, is Diego Sanmiquel with a QUEL, one word, .net. And then you can find some of my upcoming trainings and stuff of that nature.
Of course, and folks, you can, as you all know, his website will, of course, be in the description of the podcast, and I will be tagging him in everything I posted on. So if he's out there, you'll see the tag. So
Yeah.
please check out what Diego does. If you want to learn some very amazing information, very amazing practices, hit him up. Maybe you can, if you're in his area, maybe you can learn some things. I don't know if you do remote classes or not, but
I do remote classes most of the time. I've been traveling now. We built the studio here, and we built a training hall. So we mostly here in Southern California, but we travel quite often.
all right. So there you go, folks. If you want to learn, you can learn from anywhere. That's the great thing about this world. So I want to thank Diego for coming on. It's always great to talk to another intelligent person with a great beard. So us very intelligent beard gentlemen, I need together. Yeah, it's a small world for us, but
Small world.
yes, indeed. And to all my listeners and watchers, thank you. Subscribe and like, please. It helps the cause. And you all know where you can find me. If you don't, check Parapost Network, check Blind Knowledge Network, and check the outro. It's all in there. I ain't going to say it again. I'm lazy tonight. But until next time, remember, the world's not normal, and we don't want it to be. Have a good one.